guys. In addition to those two guys, there were several other gentlemen that kind of caught our eye. We had wide receivers, running backs, other quarterbacks as well. Who caught your eye, Daniel Jeremiah?
For me, look, all the receivers, there was a lot of them that were impressive, but Kevin White stood out above all of them. Ran in the mid-4.3s today at the 40. There were some people thinking maybe he's going to run in the 4.5s. I know some scouts were concerned about that. Put that to sleep. 4.35 in the 40. See, his jumps were impressive as well. But him tracking the football down the field, something you see on tape, that stood out to me. He's such a hulking figure. To me at least, and everybody has their own opinion, but as an evaluator, I thought he was the best one on tape, and I thought he came out here today and was the best one on the field today as well.
Raiders are going at 4. Yeah, that's our guy.
Good job.
I think it'd be a great pick for the Oakland Raiders. You put him with Carr, now you've got a big-time weapon to let those guys grow together.
Coach, how about for you?
Yeah, and I liked him as well because it gave maybe some definition. If they were a little bit, you know, they got Cooper and then we've got White and how about Parker? You know, that definition, if I'm an Oakland Raider, and that's what we want to do in terms of receiver. I'm going to go a little further down. We've been talking about the top guys. Jalen Strong from Arizona State, because we've been talking about how deep the receivers have gone the last couple of years. This is a guy could be second, maybe even a third-round pick. This guy obviously aced it with a 4.4. Thing I loved about it, at 6'2", 217, almost 6'3", had a 42-inch vertical jump. Now, I'm going to bring up a name, Keenan Allen, and not necessarily because he reminds me of Keenan Allen. He's much faster than Keenan Allen was, but Keenan Allen was the 76th pick of the draft. He's had back-to-back 70-plus catch years. When you're talking about the depth of the receiving core here, this is a guy that could be a good value. You don't get that Kevin White early on, and you get a guy like this, Jalen Strong. All of a sudden, now you've got a productive receiver in today's game that is great value in the late second, maybe third round.
And the only question, Charles, with him was the deep speed. Check that one off the list.
Check that box off, and then that basketball DNA comes out, too, when you watch him play, doesn't it? Father was a 2,000-point scorer at Drexel back in Philadelphia, pretty good ball. And his ability to get his body in front of other people.
What's Drexel's mascot?
The Dragons.
The Dragons, that one I knew.
Okay.
I mean, don't think that he's the only one that knew that one, okay?
I mean, you know.
I expected him. You got me.
I mean, earlier in the show, he was throwing out 1968 100-meter gold champions, right? Who was it again?
You talk about Jim Hines and then Bob Hayes and the whole crew.
Can we get back to college football?
Let's get back to
Who's the guy that you liked a lot?
Well, listen, Coach took us a little bit deeper in the draft. It's something we talked about here at the table beforehand, is that coming into this, we thought 3 receivers. Well, we could double that in the first round. But a guy who won't be a first rounder but bears looking is who I call the workout warrior of the day, and that's Chris Conley from the University of Georgia. In his last 2 seasons at Georgia, guys, he caught 45 and 36 passes. So he was a prolific receiver. But look at the production here at the Combine. 11'7" broad jump, 45-inch vertical. 4.35 40, and oh, by the way, just to cap it off, you know what he did in the weight room? He did 18 at 225. So what that means to me is we got to go back and watch this guy some more. I thought he caught the ball well in Gauntlet, but then we were watching. Remember, Chris, we were watching a few other drills. He didn't catch the ball quite as well. We've got some tape watching to do on Chris Conley and some more research. I do know this, super solid kid. Big-time kid, always put him out in front as a leadership position, always a guy that dealt with the NCAA, well-read, well-spoken, all that stuff. I want to learn a little bit more about him as a football player because his workouts tell me we might have a player.
I love the fact that you bring that up because to me, for the Combine, as the coach that's getting my first real look at these guys, maybe I haven't looked a lot of tape of him yet. Maybe I've heard some things in terms of the rankings and where we're at. Absolutely, this sends me back to the tape. That's the first thing I do when I get back to the office if we want a wide receiver, because I want to see this Conley, because everything I saw on the field today says, and I may not have a predisposition about what I saw on the film. Now I'm looking at it with kind of virgin eyes to say, look, I've seen the athlete. Now I'm looking for it on tape.
And, Coach, you know, we take those cards in the draft room and the little magnets, and you put them up on the board, and on the board will have their height, their weight, and their speed. And that card, there's going to be somebody that walks in there and say there's a misprint on Conley's card. You got those numbers.
Give me a cross-check on that.
Those are some freaky numbers. We throw the word freak out there. That was a freaky performance.
Speaking of freak, he is a Star Wars freak.
Yes,
the Force.
He directs the Force was
the Force
was
with
on YouTube. It's pretty good.
The Force was with him today.
No question about it. We haven't had 3 receivers go in the top 10 since 2005. We could see that this year.
Oh, you can look at the team and say, well, maybe this team doesn't have a high need at the position. I think these 3 receivers are 3 of the safest players in the draft. Amari Cooper, Parker, and Kevin White. I think they're no-brainers.
And don't forget this, guys. Last year, the production of the 2014 receiver class, I think we'll have a big bearing on 2015 where people say we've got to score points, make big plays. Some of these receivers are going to get pushed up. I think we may be doubling that number of 3 that we thought in the first round to maybe 6.
Yeah, we had 5 go in the first round a year ago, 12 go in the first 2 rounds, which was a record.